Hello, beautiful people. It is your girl, Tiffany Thompson, and I'm welcoming you back to our third episode of Living My Best Autoimmune Life. Today, I have a longtime friend, an obsession of mine, and she's here in person. I have Aiesha Robinson with us today. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And it's been like how many years since I first interviewed you on What's Up Montreal?
I think that was in 2015, 2016. Isn't that crazy?
11 years ago.
Time flies. And it's almost like a full circle moment because here we are back, you interviewing me, but on your own podcast. Yeah. So that's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. And thanks for being here.
Of course.
So I already kind of know you. I need my audience to get to know you a bit more. So can you introduce yourself? Tell us about your background, what you do, and whatever else you're comfortable sharing.
Okay, so who am I? I don't know why I always get nervous with this question. I'm like, who am I? So my name is Aiesha Robinson. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, and I guess I'm known as the founder of Born to Rise, a model, but like I like to say that I'm retired. I don't really do it anymore. I focus now on teen coaching and public speaking in schools, sharing messages about self-love and confidence. And I also recently started working in the health field. So that's something new. And that's me in like the professional term, and then me as Aiesha, I'm like a Real Housewives lover. I'm a basketball lover. I like to watch. I play. Yeah, I still play. And yeah, I like to laugh a lot.
Yeah, you're always smiling. You're always having a great time. Love to see it. And I really admire that you always pursue your passions and you share that with us. So like we can take so much inspiration from that. So like I've always loved your soul and your energy. And I'm really grateful to have you here today.
Thank you.
Something that I've noticed on your Instagram lately is that you're sharing a lot of affirmations and daily prayers, and you're really connecting and getting closer to God. So that's why I wanted to do this activity with you today. What we're going to be doing is that these are just a bunch of stickers with different scriptures, and we are going to be decorating prayer boxes. So yeah, I really love this activity because both of us are working on our relationship to God. And these are like great scriptures we're going to have on these boxes. And throughout the year, you can use this box to maybe write out prayers that have been answered or prayers that are in the process of being answered. And then you'll have a safe space for those prayers with scriptures surrounding the box.
I don't know why I feel like I'm getting emotional. This is actually really cool. And then because on New Year's Eve, I did a prayer wall, and it didn't come out the greatest because I was trying to use the glue gun and it wasn't sticking, so it didn't really turn out to be the greatest. So now that I have those prayers, I can like take it from there and use this box. So thank you for thinking of this.
Of course. I think like everything is so aligned. And I think like this is going to help us manifest like all the goals that we have and bring us even closer to God.
Yes.
And I know it's a sensitive topic because we all have our independent walks with getting closer to God. But this is just going to lead us. It's going to continue to lead us in the right direction.
I love that.
So we're going to get into the questions now. So it's a conversation. We can like try to multitask. Okay, so we both struggle with like doing multiple things at the same time. But we're going to choose whichever sticker like sticks out to us, put it on our boxes, and we'll read it at the end.
Okay, I love that. So it's like whichever one we choose is the one that it's supposed to be for us, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We'll start with this one. So while we chat, what is the autoimmune disease that you are thriving with?
Ooh, thriving. Okay. What I have is called Vitiligo.
Okay.
And I was diagnosed with it. I'm so bad at math, but when I was 18. And today I'm 35. So do the math, guys.
I can't do the math for y'all. So.
And so I've been living with it. It's basically an autoimmune condition where there's a miscommunication happening within my body that's telling it to eat away at my melanin, and it causes the white spots that you see on my hands, my eyes. I have it on my elbows, on my feet, and as of recently, I'm finding spots underneath my bosom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since you were 18, so prior to that, you didn't have any autoimmune conditions, or like everything was health-wise everything was like pretty going well. And then all of a sudden, one day you wake up, and like, what were the first signs that you knew that something was different?
So it was my first year. Was it my first or my second year of college? And I noticed a small white spot on my right thumb. And I had an idea as to what it was because I have a friend that has vitiligo herself.
Okay.
And my grandfather has vitiligo as well. But the thing is, with my grandfather, rest in peace, he had told us that the reason for his depigmentation was due to a work accident. So I always thought like it was an acid spill. I didn't know it was vitiligo. And then one day when I noticed the spot, I ignored it and I was like, okay, you know when you scratch yourself and like you get a scab?
Yeah.
And then your skin
it's
goes
so
back.
small. You're like,
exactly.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, like whatever, like my skin's gonna come back. And then maybe after like 2 months, it didn't come back. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to my friend that has vitiligo herself and see what she thinks. So we were at school at Dawson at the time, and I took her to the bathroom and I'm like, hey, look, I have this white spot. What do you think it is? And she looked at it and she said, Aiesha, you have vitiligo. And right then and there, I kid you not, like I fell to my knees and I started bawling my eyes out because like my life flashed before me where I was like, okay, I'm going to be constantly judged. People are going to make fun of me. I'm going to turn all white. And the significance of her telling me is that she was somebody of lighter complexion that struggled so much with vitiligo and you could barely see it. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean for me of darker complexion when it's so visible, you know?
Yeah.
And from then, like my mental health just kind of went downhill. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that story and for being so vulnerable. And when you say like your mental health crashed from then, like what does that entail?
So right away, the first thing that I did, as I mentioned, was my thought process went to the judgment of that I was going to receive. And this comes from a place of, I only realized this after my self-work journey, that I was insecure prior to having vitiligo. And when I was diagnosed with it, my number one fear was, would people like me? Would people accept me? And right away, at the time that I was diagnosed, there was no Winnie Harlow. There wasn't anybody that was out there with vitiligo that was wearing it, you know, proudly. Of course, they're saying that Michael Jackson had it and he did the reverse treatment. But even at that, there was nobody that was proudly accepting of having vitiligo. And when I would like search it online, all I'm seeing is like people in Africa being shunned from their communities and, you know, people dying because they have vitiligo and their community doesn't accept them. So I was like, what does this mean for me? Like, what does my future look like having this? Would I ever get a boyfriend? Would I ever, be loved? Would my friends still be my friends? All these questions went through my head. And at the same time, it started spreading. So my mom took me to the hospital to see a dermatologist. And I think that's when I was like, okay, this is my life, because the dermatologist, literally, it was a 5-minute consultation.
Yeah.
Like, we sat down and she's like, yeah, you have vitiligo. So she's like, go. She's like, there's nothing you could do. You could take, there's no cure. She's like, you could do some cream. It might work. It might not. And that was it. So I felt like so hopeless. And I was like, okay. And she prescribed me cream and I don't remember what it's called, but I started using it. It wasn't working. And then I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm going to go all white and I'm going to lose all my friends and no one's going to love me. And
no.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm taking all of this in and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. And at that moment, it's like you're 18, you're still like a baby, and
going to the club, dating.
Yeah, like so many things are changing at that moment in our lives, and like to be faced with this was difficult. And then I'm thinking back to when we first met and how you were saying affirmations in the mirror, and what was it that took you from that place of feeling so crushed to now being such a spokesperson for affirmations and being confident with yourself? Like, what was it that really
so how vulnerable can I get on this?
As vulnerable as you are comfortable with.
So one time there was an incident that happened where I went to a party. It was the weekend after party, and I was with my girlfriends. And well, actually, let me take you back. So I just shared with you what was going on inside, like what my thought process was. But the confirmation with these thought process was the judgment that I was actually receiving. So I would go, and this actually happened to me like last month. I went to a restaurant. You were there today. And me and this other guy that has vitiligo himself were sitting there minding our own business when this random guy, the whole time we were there, he was just staring at us. And then before he left, he came up to us and he was like, you know, you look the way you do because you're cursed. And then he walked off. So I was like, oh, okay. That was one incident that happened. And this doesn't even like equate. Like I dropped out of college because of it, because I didn't want to, what's that word? I'm blanking right now. Commute.
Oh, okay.
On public transportation because of the stares that I would receive. People would constantly stare, make rude remarks, give me the dirtiest looks, like I did not belong. Simple task of grocery shopping would be hard because there are some people that love to share their opinion when no one has. So people would stop me literally and be like, you know, there's a cure in Cuba. That's the famous one. And everyone that has vitiligo, they know about this. You mentioned that and everyone laughs because they're like, yep, we heard that one. Where they'd be like, you should go and get the cure in Cuba because you shouldn't be walking around looking the way that you do. Or like on my birthday, I was at McDonald's and this kid, she was like 5 years old. She saw me and we made eye contact. And then she's like, Mommy, look, a monster, a monster. And she started bawling her eyes out. And at that time, I don't even think I didn't even wait for my food. I placed my order and everything, but like I was just so embarrassed because now everyone's staring at me and I just ran out crying my eyes out. And I was like, this is what my life is. So those little encounters led to like my mental health, as I mentioned earlier, crashing, taking a toll. And this specific incident where I was like, okay, enough is enough was when I went to a party. It was at the weekend after party or whatever. And I went to the bathroom, and outside the bathroom, like before going in, it was his entourage. And they were talking. They're like, yo, there's too many people in this hotel. We need to kick people out. So like, okay, let's kick out all the ugly people. And then obviously I walk out the bathroom at the same time. And they're like, we're asking people to leave. Do you mind leaving? But they obviously didn't know that I heard them say that. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And I left, and like my friends didn't follow me. Like it was like just me by myself. In their defense, I didn't tell them what happened. And then I went home and like I got the knife and I was like, this is like, I don't want to live like this is what my life is going to be for the rest of it. Like, I don't want to be here. And and then I called my friend and she talked me out of it. And then that's when I was like, okay, it's not that I don't want to be here. I just don't want to feel the pain of it. So I reached out for help. I called my older brother and I told him what I was experiencing. And my brother is like somebody that's heavily into like positive thinking, affirmations. He's the one that introduced me to The Secret, which has been like, I don't want to say now that I'm on like my godly journey, but I used to like, it was like my Bible, forgive me. But that mindset shift for me to realize that I need to stop seeking for that external validation. It has to start from within. So that was what took me on that journey of like, okay, I need to fall back in love with myself. Like, who is Aiesha? What are my values? What is it that I love? What are my triggers? What makes me happy? What doesn't? What is in my control?
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, don't.
No.
Like,
continue. Sorry.
no.
Okay. Sorry. Can I just have a Kleenex? Oh man, I'm such a baby Lala. So, when you spoke to your brother, what did he tell you?
So my brother's like really like, he was like cursing at me. He's like, bro, you're calling me because you're telling me. I don't remember till this day, but he's basically like, what did he say? He's like, yo, he's like, there's people out there that's actually effing dying and you're here crying because of the way how people like look at you and your skin. But it wasn't in a way to like say that what I'm going through, it wasn't in a way to say that what I'm going through isn't of significance. It was just for me to realize that you still have an opportunity to shift your mindset, to shift your life the way how you want it to be, you know? Yeah. So like stop with this victim mentality. And as harsh as that might sound, I understand it because I was in that victim mentality, I feel, you know, where it's like, oh, why me? Why do I have vitiligo? Da, 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 da. And if I had stayed in that mindset, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I needed that tough love for me to like, for it to click to me that, hey, I'm in control of my life.
Yeah.
And I need to start loving myself. And if I want other people to respect me, it has to start with me. I have to respect myself first. So that's where everything began, where I was like, okay, you know what? What is it that worries me the most? Is it the judgment of others? Okay, so what can I do? What's in my control? Let me educate, because the reason why people are making these comments is because they don't know what vitiligo is. So let me help with, you know, putting that ignorance to rest as best as I can. And then taking it a step further, I was like, this is bigger than me. Yes. Because I didn't have anybody to turn to. And I didn't want somebody that was younger than me, which I had found a young lady, she was a young girl, rather, 10 years old, in school getting bullied for having vitiligo. So me speaking, believe it or not, public speaking is one of my biggest fear. Like I would skip class every single time we had presentations until it was done because I did not like it. But I found my message was more powerful than my fear. So that's why I was like, okay, I have to share my story. I don't have the best vocabulary. I stutter. I lose my words sometimes, but I'm like, if my message still gets across, all that matters. And then that's why I started to speak and to educate people on vitiligo and the importance of self-love, because that's what it all came down to, was the lack of self-love that I had for myself.
What an incredible answer.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for feeling comfortable to share that with us. And the first thing that came to mind is what got me emotional is I'm speaking for myself and like a bunch of people that know you. We are so thankful that you're here today and how you've changed our lives just by living your life.
You're gonna make me cry now. Don't do that.
I got tissue, don't worry. So to hear that you went through that and how beautiful of a flower you bloomed into because of that, we are so grateful to have you here. And when we're going back to like how your brother spoke to you, I relate. My brother, that tough love, sometimes it just like shakes you up and brings you back, right? Yeah. So thanks for sharing that as well. And I wanted to get more into vitiligo. If there is like treatment now in 2025, is there anything that you're currently taking, or do you even experience like flare-ups like in typical autoimmune diseases, or is it a physical manifestation solely and also like it impacts you mentally, but is there any like types of flare-ups or like treatment that you're on?
So there isn't any flare-ups that occur.
Okay.
So I think I'm a bit ignorant myself with with vitiligo as a whole, because I don't research it. For me, I'm like, okay, this is what God gave me. And I feel like this is a message and this is why I was put on this earth. So I've been riding with that. Yeah. So to say that I research it or anything, I don't really do that, but I am part of like 2 vitiligo communities and they're heavily into the research. So I would like now and then if they post something about it, like I'll read up on it. But to go back to your question, there's no flare-ups. The only thing is that then now there's a mix-up. So now, and I don't know what's true because like I said, being full transparent here, I don't do the research or anything, but we were told to stay out of the sun, to use a lot of sunscreen as we all should, but especially for us because we're missing the melanin. So we're more prone to skin cancer. So we got to be really careful with that. I did once experience, I was in Barbados, living my best life on the catamaran. Is that the boat? Yeah. And I forgot to reapply my sunscreen. And that was the first time I experienced sunburn. And my eyes and my mouth and my lips became like 3 times its size. Oh, okay. Yeah. But my pigments start to come back at the same time. So one of the treatments is like the UV light. So you can go underneath it. But my mom's like, no way my daughter's going underneath that, which I'm thankful for. But other than that, is there any, there's treatments, but they may or may not work, as the dermatologist had told me. And then for a cure, till this day, there's no cure. But we have a day. So June 25th is official World Vitiligo Awareness Day. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so no treatment. And what would you say are some misconceptions about vitiligo?
It's not contagious, guys.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And that's more for like the children, because they'd be like, don't touch her. Like, these are comments I'm talking from experience. Like, they'd be like, don't touch her, you're gonna look like her. And so that's one misconception, that it's contagious. Another one is that, it's just where people just kind of make it seem like, it's just vitiligo, like she's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's
just passive, a skin thing. Yeah, like, it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, so they're thinking it's shallow. Like,
right. So there's that. And what else is another misconception? People do think it hurts. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it does not hurt. I think the biggest impact is literally watching your skin change before you and not having any control over it. And then, we live in a very judgmental society. So for people to come up to you and judge you and whatnot, it does take a toll on your mental health. So I'm confident in my skin today, but I do know a lot of people that have vitiligo and aren't comfortable. So that's also why I continue to share my story and to show up, because I remember what it was like to be in their shoes. Yeah.
And if we're speaking about you today, the person that you are today, and like how much you've had to combat to become this version of yourself today, you have set up platforms like Born to Rise. Can you speak to us about what that means to you? Why you set up this amazing platform that I was part of in 2023, I believe, and that have changed really the lives of people, or the audience that you have, and the people that are part of this movement. So can you tell us about what Born to Rise is and how it came about?
Yeah, so it was in 2015, after I did a lot of self-work. I think I've always been that type of person that always wanted to like help others. So like, remember on those UNICEF commercials that would come on and be like, please help and donate. Like, I was that little girl that would like call and like, Mom, I need money, we need to donate. So I've always been that person that always wanted to help others. And with Born to Rise, when I realized how impactful sharing my story was, and it was mainly at the first, it was just for the people with vitiligo. But then when I realized, I was like, listen, this is bigger than me, as I mentioned. But if I can open a platform for other people to share their stories, their own stories of overcoming their own adversity, then I can help, or I can connect on a wider range, So it's not just my story anymore, it's stories of others. So if you can't relate to me or you can't see yourself in me, well, maybe you could see yourself in others. So that's how Born to Rise started. And it's an annual show where people come up, just like Tiff did, and share their stories of overcoming their own struggles, their own adversities, and risen above it. Because I don't think we're placed on this earth, or I don't think things happen without a reason. And I really and truly believe that we were born to rise above it. There's a lesson in everything that we go through, and we are just the examples that are brave enough to speak about it, to inspire other people to do exactly what we did.
Amazing. And what would you say the role of God is in this? Like, how has God directed your steps or has empowered you to really be successful in everything that you are doing?
It's crazy because I've always believed in God. And we used to go to church every Sunday, but then we started playing basketball, and our basketball games were Sunday, so we stopped going. And then as a child, you're like, yes, we don't have to go to church. But I think, we do those prayers when we're in a sticky situation. We're like, please, God, help me out of this situation. I promise never to do this again or never be in this situation again. But you know how they say that God talks to you?
Yeah.
I always felt like I struggled with hearing his voice. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't hear him. And it was just recently where I was like, what do you mean? Like, anytime I speak and I say like, hey, God gave me vitiligo for this reason, that for that thought to come into my mind, it's because God put it there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So I think, and then when I look back in my life and how I said that, like, I always wanted to help other people and be there for other people. What was the question again?
How has God guided your steps in your success?
I think, just putting me, it's him speaking to me. And I don't think the ideas that I come up with, it's him speaking to me. You. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like without knowing it, I've been guiding him through not doing public speaking, something that, I've always feared, through starting a nonprofit. I didn't know anything about starting. I literally Googled, how do I start a nonprofit organization, So him just giving me a message, speaking to me, and me following through with it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Because I ask a lot of my guests, what good has come out of getting diagnosed with an autoimmune condition? And we often laugh about it because, like, what good could come out of being sick, right? But there's so much greatness that has come out of this diagnosis, and it's really shaped who you are. And as you said, it is your life purpose. Yeah. And there's so many avenues that are coming out of this because you have vitiligo. Yeah. So there's good side to it sometimes. Yeah. So if you were to give a piece of advice for a young girl or boy that is currently seeing their very first dot on their hand, let's say, what piece of advice would you give to them?
Good question. I think I would say, like, if I'm there with them, I'd give them a hug.
Yeah.
Because I understand what it is to see that first spot and the initial panic that you have. And it's about going through your own journey. So normally when I would used to say like, I tell them like, you're beautiful the way you are. In that moment, they don't feel that. So I'm going to say it like, don't worry, you're beautiful, but it gets better. It gets better. And to just turn inwards and start loving yourself. Let's get to the self-worth, because that's what you're going to need to get to rise above it. And as much as we practice affirmations without actions behind it, without true intention behind it, it's just words, right? So I'm not going to, it took me a long time because I used to look in the mirror and be like, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. And I wouldn't believe it. I just this is what affirmations is, just to say you're beautiful, But when you dress in your favorite outfit and you actually feel good about yourself and then you say it, then you have the emotions behind it. And then that affirmation actually comes true. So it's, I'm here to help you. That's what I would say. Yeah. If you need me, I'm here. Because I don't want to say anything that they don't believe in the moment. I want to give them space to feel the emotions that they're going through rather than build it up inside and feel like, okay, I have to think I'm beautiful because she says that I am, and they put on a mask. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super important. Wow. Well, I wanted to end this interview with us reading 3 to 4 of the stickers that we put on.
We didn't do that.
Honestly, we didn't. We covered the surface. So all is well. We'll start with you. You can choose 2 to 3 to read out and see how you feel about these verses.
Okay. So the first one I'll read is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. God is love. Love that one. Yeah. Your worth is not measured by your productivity. That's me. And let's try, you said 2, 3?
3. Yeah.
3? Okay. May not understand now what I am doing, but someday you will. Ooh,
that's crazy.
I love this one.
We just spoke about that, what you would tell your younger self or a young person. I love moments like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, I love this box so much. Okay.
And you could take as many stickers as you want.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm going to read 2 of mine. God is within her, specifically her. Okay. She will not fall. Amazing. And for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind.
Love that.
Amazing. Yeah, I really like this activity.
Faith over fear. I have that tattoo on me.
Really?
Yeah.
When I was starting this podcast, I was going to name it Faith Over Fear.
Stop.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, no, I need to incorporate something with autoimmune and yeah, it was in my notes.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I like your title. It's perfect.
So I want to thank you so much for being here with us today and being vulnerable and sharing. And I don't know about y'all, but I got a lot out of the words that she was sharing and your story. And I want to know, what are you currently working on?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for holding space for myself and everyone else that has been interviewed and will be interviewed. I don't know if you realize how powerful this platform is, and for you to use what you're thriving through and turn it from your pain into your power, and to also give a platform for other people to do the same speaks volumes. So I feel like we're both here on paths that align, and both doing God's work, So
thank you.
I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
And for myself, so I actually took a little mental health break. And that's when I started going back to work so I can just be a regular 9 to 5 and not have to worry about being an entrepreneur. I tried to do my team coaching full time. But I realized in 2021, when I lost my dad, I wasn't grieving properly. So I gave myself that space to allow myself to really grieve and just realign everything. What does Born to Rise mean to me? Where I want to take it, and find what my passions are. And I really love working with the teens. And I think the sooner you could teach them how to love themselves, the better. So that's where my focus is. And also with Born to Rise, I'm still on hold, but because a lot of people have been asking me to have another show and whatnot, I am still working. So it's just a pause for now. Mm-hmm. It's not over. Winterize is still there. And we'll be back soon.
Do you have any other projects coming up?
So I do group coaching, team coaching. So I work with, right now I've worked with like 3 basketball teams. I do in schools. I have 2 speaking engagements coming up in elementary schools. So that's it. And I do have a project coming up that I want to talk to you alone about. And we're not going to
not now.
Yeah, not yet, but
amazing. Yeah. So if we wanted to keep up with your story and your journey, where can we find you?
So I'm most active on Instagram. That's at Aiesha Robinson _. That's AIESHA. And my website, if you want to book me to speak to your students or to your teens that you have, you can go to my website, www.aiesharobinson.com.
Yes. Yay. Thank you again. And thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.